Hey scrappy friends, this is Mags from MagsGraphics. Today I'm going to be showing you how to use my Deckle Edge masks and effects. Back when I was a paper scrapbooker, I loved the Fisker scissors that had the decorative edges to them. And I do have a pack of masks that have many of those decorative edges. But the one that I had not figured out at the time was the Deckle Edge, and that was actually my favorite because it turned regular layouts into ones that looked more vintage, more worn or torn. And so once I figured out how I could do that within my software programs, I wanted to make a set of masks and mask effects so that you can do the same thing. And these come in an assortment of shapes, all of them large, so that you could use them on paper. We have circles, landscaped ovals, portrait ovals, squares, landscape rectangles, and portrait rectangles. The reason why they're not just all circles or all squares is that if you are dealing with a horizontal or vertical photo, pulling a circle or a square to match that, it's going to make a lot of distortion. And so by having the landscape and the portrait options, you can choose whatever is closest to the shape of the paper or the photo that you're attaching these to. So here are first some examples from my creative team. And I'm going to scroll in for you so you can see. This one uses the poster, added the Deckle Edge as a matte behind. These are look more like frames, but they've been added behind and also applied to the photos. Over here, we've got the mix between the Deckle Edge and a normal edge, which makes for a striking change. It breaks it up so it's not all the same. Same way over here on this matching page. And the templates that were used with this one is my year in review templates, which is a great way, great set of templates that don't just have to be about your year in review. Looking down here is an example of what it would look like on a plain shape or on some photos. This one you would have seen when I demonstrated the everyday burnt parchment pack, which is right here, but she also used the Deckle Edge on her photos, which makes for a wonderful interest edge. Used an oval and a landscape. And then over here, we've got some more uses of it on some photos. So I'm going to demonstrate how this looks. First thing I'm going to do, once my blank page loads, is go to Content. And I actually want to put on some paper. This is the Legacy of Love kit. It's got a lot of beautiful patterns and pages, but I thought this one would be a fun one to use. I'm not sure if you have this, but if you purchased a Legacy of Love kit and one of the newspapers is just a straight out vintage newspaper, I'll add that to the page. Just all vintage, ads and articles. But the other one has some Easter eggs hidden in there. You might find something about MagsGraphics on here, or Forever's video streaming plan, or conversion services, or Forever Family Research. Not all of them. I mean, Vintage Vinny Photography is a vintage ad, but Wags to Whiskers is an actual place where I take my dog for grooming. So it's just a fun Easter eggy type piece of paper that you would know, even though it's often used as a background or the opacity is narrowed and it's covered up. People may not even be reading it, but I thought you might find it fun that you know it was in there. And we're going to use this just to demo these masks. Now, they do come, I need to switch to elements, as elements. If you wanted to add one to the page, let's try this circle. It would come in full size. And of course, you could still change the color some lag time. There we go. To anything that you wanted. You could still add textures. Preview. Just like you would with any other paper shape or embellishment. And it's certainly easy to add a photo to this or a paper to this. But there are some fun things having these also as an easy mask. Now you can see when you scroll down through the elements panel that there are the landscape ones or a portrait one. And there's different edges of, there's the subtle edge, and then there's some that are more jaggedy. But on this piece of paper, we're going to scroll over to the frames, and I've already loaded the Deckle edge mask and effects. Now within frames, everything looks like a circle or a square. So it will be important to pay attention to the words that are down here. This is an actual square. The ones that are circles do say circles, but the ovals will say landscaped oval effect or portrait oval effect. Or when you scroll down, you will get the landscape for a rectangle or a portrait for a rectangle. It's just the way that they're shown in effects. They all look square or circle. But I've clicked on my paper. I'm going to double click on this first one. And you can see right away that it has taken my paper and added that great Deckle edge to it. Maybe I want something a little bit more. So I'm just going to double click on this one. Whoops, let me actually click on my paper. And it'll just switch out the effect to this. And you can add a shadow. You can see it off the edge a little bit better here. If you wanted to see a square, we've got a square or a circle. Or, no, we did a circle, sorry. Or a different type of square. And you certainly could use the portrait on it because it'll keep whatever the aspect ratio is of your paper. But the portrait and the landscape are really meant for ones in that shape so that they aren't distorted. Now, I want to show you a page that I did when I was demoing the Everyday Burnt Parchment packs. And this one has been mostly built, but I thought it would be fun to show you the difference. When I take this piece of paper and go back over here, how much different it looks when I add an effect. It just makes the whole page just even more interesting. And if I wanted the subtle one that mimics the parchment that I chose, or if I want something more torn, I could use that. Another one that's torn but a little straighter. You have a lot of options with all of these. And I can add my shadow. There. This photo here, if I wanted to add a Deckle frame to it, I could scroll down to the landscape ones and I could add that to it. Pull this back a little bit so you can see them better. So it makes for some really wonderful effects on your papers and on your photos, especially with your vintage layouts. But I can see lots of other instances where you may want to use this in a more modern layout as well. Anyway, I hope this gives you some ideas and you can stop by the store. These are the part of my January pick and mix offerings. And there are many other pick and mix packs from the Forever Designer. So I hope you'll stop by and check those out too. Thank you.